Okay, so today I'm just going to talk about Australian education. One thing I didn't know about Australian education when I was younger, and it really just impressed me recently, or I might have known about it, but never really sank in. But now, like, I'm actually a bus driver. I drive a lot of school kids around, and the school kids I drive around, like, it's in the most wealthy part of town, and there's a hell of a lot of money in Sydney. And these kids, they're all in like their official uniforms. So it could be a Catholic school or whatever. And, more often than not, the parents wouldn't be Catholics, but the Catholics are considered to be very good at education, at least in Sydney. Notwithstanding any scandals that the Catholic Church might have here, that they have to pay out a lot of money for those individual scandals, it's still considered very widely to be very good at education. So those are just the Catholic schools. Some of the Catholic schools I go at drop off at in North Sydney, just on the north side of Sydney Harbour Bridge. I mean, I imagine the fees there every year must be 20 to 35,000 Australian dollars a year. So if you count Australian dollars like 70 American cents, although there was parity for a while when Obama was doing quantitative easing, it was actually got to a point where the American dollar was worth less in Australian dollar because Obama did quantitative easing. He just printed out a ton of money, and I don't think anyone in America really noticed, but I definitely noticed there's a time there where if it happens again, I'll capitalize. But I'm still waiting for the Australian dollar to go over 75 cents. It doesn't look like it's going to happen anytime soon. So that QE2, that quantitative easing, I think that was before Russia invaded Syria as well. So that's kind of how I reckon things in terms of like, piles of corpses and things like that. So, but yeah, Australian education. So, I mean, we have very good public schools that are free. Okay, so it's going to depend on the socio-economic area you're in. Like my area I live in now, I'm very happy my kids go to public school there and we wouldn't be able to afford the private school. Um, we could afford a private school for our son Alex. He was at a Catholic school for a year in Western Sydney, where the education in public school is very poor, and his mother didn't want him going to a public school there. That's where I went to public school, and I didn't have a poor impression of the public schools there because, in terms of my innocent years, I found the kids there were innocent, So, but yeah, that private school is only $2,000 a year, very affordable. But like, say one of my best friends at university is this American girl. Her father was in California, her mother was from Holland, and so you'd think she had everything going for her. She had like violin lessons when she was a kid, very wealthy background, or not very. I don't know how wealthy, but relatively wealthy. Probably the family estate is worth, I don't know, $2 million or something. And the parents got divorced, and the mum still had a nice house. The father went back to California, found an American lady to marry. I think I met her once. She seemed like they're probably liberals or something. I don't know. They seem reasonably nice people. Um, and they had a son called Benjamin. He's the only one that turned out well adjusted because the brother became a heroin junkie even when I knew my friend. And then after I left her, and went on with my life elsewhere outside of the university, she became a heroin junkie. And so it was a very bad result for her. And the parents had spent like $30,000 a year on her private high school. So this is the point I'm trying to come to, is that Australian education is very unusual in the sense that, in my opinion, in the sense that the high schools can be terribly expensive, like $30,000 a year, but they don't have any competitive private universities. I think there was one private university in Western Australia. Most of the universities here are public. So all these parents, that are spending all this money for their kid just to go to a private high school in their area or out of their area, like $30,000 a year. They're happy for them to go to a public university that's backward ass, that's really backward ass. I mean, and I'll explain that now. Like, I've talked to, say, a third-year law student, probably, I would assume from a wealthy background, but you never know. At the end of the day, people in this country can pick themselves up by the bootstrings and make anything out of themselves. This is a country where it's like America. You can just, you can go far. You might not go far in terms of like the entertainment industry here. It's kind of small and backwater and English redneck. You might have to go to America for that, but to get a bigger audience or something. But I mean, in terms of just having, generating wealth, like becoming a builder or something like that. There's or many things. There's a lot of opportunities in Australia. So, um, all these parents, I cannot understand them. Like they want to pay $30,000 a year. Like my friend Christine, the parents were paying the American dad and the Dutch mom. They're paying like 30,000, 35,000 of today's dollars. So if you do the math, 30,000 Australian dollars is 21,000 American dollars. That's a lot of money for a year of education just for one kid. If you got three kids, that's 60,000 American dollars more, probably 65,000 American dollars or 67,000 American dollars a year. That's a lot of money. Like, I mean, I can't afford that, and I don't. It doesn't bother me that I can't afford that, because what am I going to spend all that money on my kid to go to high school here? And then this is the funny thing when they get to university, like that law student, um, that what happens there, like they've been using this system now where I call it the communist Chinese shakedown. They get all these communist Chinese kids in there paying the full fee, and then the Australian citizen or permanent resident is entitled to the reduced fee. Right now, thank God, with the virus and everything, this system's ending. This system was just polluting the education system because the Chinese kids, they're not fit to be in a Western university. I mean, their thinking is like, it's like a dinosaur. It's like we must respect the party and do everything to advance the interests of the party. How's that going to fit into a Western sphere unless they're going to graduate and just steal a intellectual secret for the party to advance the motherland? I mean, there's a massive. Some Chinese kids, they come out of university like Valley Girls, and they're like, oh really, bro? That's terrible, bro. Oh my god. That's I don't know. That's arguably even worse. Like I don't know, man. I just think it's the system should be fair. So if you're gonna charge foreign kids more than local kids that are residents or citizens of the country or the state or whatever, at least have the academic standards fair. Not cheating. But unfortunately, to get that money, because that money was a priority, um, they had to cheat. Yeah, there was a lot of cheating and looking the other way. It was just disgraceful. It's criminal, actually. And no one was criminally prosecuted. Thank God this virus came along and put an end to that crime, because it was a crime. And yeah, many times I thought about preparing a dossier for the district prosecutor, but I don't think Australian people can see it. I just don't think they have a certain amount of seriousness required to see that as a serious crime, which it is. So, but in America, like, they are serious, and yeah, the FBI. I emailed the FBI about it, and I'm not saying they, did anything on the basis of one email from me. I'm just saying they did happen to take it seriously in America. The FBI, like all kinds of college cheating, including the danger of Chinese people. Stealing their technology. Like they put Harvard professor in jail and stuff for taking massive bribes from China. We're talking about you could get $200,000. We have deans here taking bribes from China that they don't get investigated. It's like the police don't understand like how a dean, isn't like a number between 17 and 19 or something like that. They got no idea. It's hopeless. So you can't understand like why, if you're from a super wealthy background, like all the kids I drive around in my bus, and you're paying 20,000 American dollars a year for your high school, why do you want to go into the public university system you know, with, with all these communist Chinese kids that can't even speak English, that get someone to write their papers? They subsidize everything, and why do you need that subsidy? So you can go to university with a kid from Western Sydney like me, and it really unfair actually, because I ended up with higher university debt than the rich kids. That's how the right wing of politics in our country can really get things wrong. Like, I mean, why should I, being from a disadvantaged background, have to pay more than kid from rich background to study the same thing. That doesn't make any sense, And then they just get all the money from communist China anyway. It's backward. It's ass backwards. It's totally backwards. So, I mean, if I knew, when I was younger, if I had like the mindset I have now when I was younger, I would have just went to California, pretended I was a Mexican, that my parents brought me to California when I was 2 years old across the Rio Grande or something. I lost all my paperwork, Mr. Obama. I'm a dreamer. Give me a DACA or something. They'd give me free university in California. So that'd be the best outcome for someone like me with my background. But um, you know, yeah, I mean, you can still get a good education in Australia, but recently, because of the virus, they had to reform everything. So they said to all the humanities students, guess what? You got to pay the full fee now. So you got to pay double. So now, when you got some skin in the game, and this is what's going on with these kids protesting in America too. Like, if you, the thing about the kids when they protest, they don't really know what they're upset about, okay? Because they kid themselves, so they think they're upset about the black people or something, but they're not, because they probably don't know any black people. But they have to be upset about something to carry on like that, like in Seattle. So chances are what they're really upset about is their student debt, and that's what they said they want to have their student debt expunged. So I want to have my student debt expunged too, because, I didn't, I mean, I think I have a great standing, as I said in the law, to have it expunged, because um, y- academia is a problem. Like, if you're doing, and this comes down to left wing politics and stuff. Like, I mean, we're having this situation. I'm not going to go into a lot of details or, justify my case in particular, but I'm just saying in general, even in America where they have private university system and user pays, which is much better, they're having a lot of problems in America with. So you could be an Australian student going to America and have these problems. And it's like, if I'm coming from Australia to America to get a university in America and I'm paying all this money, or someone's paying all this money, I get a scholarship. I could be half Korean, so I get a scholarship because I'm half Korean. In America, they got this affirmative action. It's so racist. So you could be like, my ex girlfriend was so rich. Her dad was like, had 100 guys working under him at the post office in Seattle. She still gets free university because she's half Korean. Like, it's, how does that make sense? Doesn't make any sense. It's ridiculous. So, but anyway, say I'm coming into the university like that. I'm pretending to be a Mexican. I'm getting free university, or I get a transfer through an Australian university, and that I just pay my Australian college what I owe them, and I don't owe the American college anything because they got an agreement or whatever. You know, and so I'm over there in America, and I'm writing a paper, and I say, oh, I like Ronald Reagan's politics, in certain respects. I mean, I don't expect to be failed for that. You know what I mean? Like, so you don't have any academic freedom in America. If you have just all these, yeah, just like, I don't know. I mean, what you really, it has to be treated as criminal matter. Like, you have to have, for the university of the future to be fair, you have to have mandatory drug testing. Okay, so yeah, for example, if you test positive for the ecstasy at university, if there's mandatory drug testing, I'm not saying you should be necessarily be kicked out, but you shouldn't. Like, if you're a teacher, you shouldn't. Well, actually, yeah, if you're a teacher, you should be kicked out. Why is a teacher testing positive for ecstasy and all these other drugs in, tomorrow's university allowed to kick out a university student like me that asks a lot of questions, that doesn't, like, can't see the validity of something. You know what I mean? Like, so as fascist as that might sound, I'm think mandatory drug testing at universities would be good. Like, you could root out a lot of bad lecturers. There's a lot of really, really shitty people that become university academics, and they will just love to lord it over someone, like and kick them out, or bully them or whatever. If they perceive them as weak. And coming from an area myself, which is always the left wing party gets voted in. It's like a blue ribbon area for that. It's really just hard to understand how all these people think they identify with those kind of left wing politics when really they just look like um, yeah, it's hard to understand these kind of people. I didn't really understand these people, but I just think they shouldn't be allowed to ruin people's lives, like kicking them out of university and stuff. So I think universities should have mandatory drug testing. Um, and I don't know, there should be a mechanism or something, where um, yeah, I don't really know. I don't know because the universities are in a hard spot as well because they're often babysitting dopey kids, very dopey kids. And if they, I mean, I've spent a lot of time working as a teacher from ages like 7, um, mostly age 7, like in China. And when I was in South Korea, yeah, a lot of 7-year-olds in South Korea too. And then, yeah, in Eastern Europe, there's quite a lot of 7-year-olds. So I've dealt with a lot of 7-year-olds. Obviously, they're very infantile. Um, but 20-year-olds, sometimes they're even worse. Like sometimes it's easier to manage a 7-year-old than a 20-year-old because the kids that go to university now in the West are just, some of them are just real dopes. They just want to smoke weed and get laid. They're like little porn stars. They just run around like little root rats, just rooting all the girls everywhere, and all the girls want to root all the boys. And it's just like, I mean, look in America how they have that Spring Break TV show or whatever. Girls Gone Wild. I mean, it's just it's just ridiculous what they do on Spring Break. They're just animals. And then they're gonna sit there and lecture you about morality and shit. It's like, come on, seriously. So something's not right. Yeah, especially and when I'm talking now, I'm talking from the view of humanities because the humanities is, yeah, I'd say it's broken. I mean, here in Australia, I realized my first duty to humanity is not act like a dumb English redneck, like obnoxious. Yeah, yeah, mate. Like just scary, even. Like so. So they don't teach that at the universities, So you wouldn't be able to learn that. You just learn how to be like kind of like faggot or something. So I mean, there's nothing special there. There's not like I'm not. There's nothing at university any more special than I could just educate myself home alone, which I've done. I've been like a thesis student my entire 20s, just always reading nonstop, just for love of learning. So um, yeah, I mean, it's like something's not right. But I thought it'd be interesting to share that about Australia's one, how the high school works and how the universities aren't private; they're all public. There's a lot of there's a lot of room now for American universities to come into Australia and compete but I think a lot of American universities they don't have. I don't know how they get themselves organized over there because a lot of them they don't really have a capitalist bent. A lot of these academics don't have a feel for business, So and then a lot of the American universities they work on endowments, donations that you give them a donation, you get your name up on the thing, or um, I mean, they're also dependent on communist Chinese money in America now, and they get a lot of donations directly from communist China too. Yeah, I mean, the Chinese can put a lot of things out on the media, just to kind of send a certain kind of message out there, or make some trouble for India, or let a virus just flourish around the world and kill lots of people, which they could have brought from some other place in China to, that city, Wuhan, and then just make the dialogue about, oh yeah, it's near the disease center in Wuhan, whatever. I mean, who knows where it came from? Could have come from Beijing in a virus lab there. We don't know, but yeah, that's a whole different thing. But I'm just saying, in terms of America and China saber rattling, on the ocean or whatever, on the coast of China with their ships or whatever. The truth is, China is putting a lot of money into American universities. So that must That must mean and a lot of money in American bonds too. China owns a lot of American 10-year bonds. They put a lot of money in American universities, like direct donations, like millions of dollars and stuff. They're trying to get something out of that. They're trying to get what they call in Chinese guanxi, which is guanxi is an everyday expression in China. So normally when you say thanks to someone, they just say "make guanxi." There's no guanxi. That means there's no what do you call that? In Spain, they call it enchufe, which is the power socket. You know, where you plug in the electric cable. To have enchufe in Spain is like to have guanxi in China. It means to have some leverage. Yeah, it's like having leverage. So it's like when you grease the wheels. In a business relationship. You buy someone a business dinner, and then you develop a relationship. You make up some guanxi there. Like that. So yeah, so uh, it's also called bribery by the FBI. you know, they'll throw you into jail for it. So, but yeah, I think there's room for American universities coming to Australia now, if they wanted to. But Australia's running on this public system, so it's all kind of like you got to owe the university you accumulated debt. Like, I'm scared now. I don't have faith in Australia's universities. I think they're junk. And I don't want to be saddled with a, I don't know, let's say $10,000 of debt for a year of studies in say in mathematics, and then I'm going to owe that to the tax office, and every year the tax office is going to take it off my pay if I earn a certain amount of money, which I do as a bus driver. Like, so every year I'm paying back my university debt, which was, so why do I want to pay all this money for a big party? That's all university was for me, was a big party with these kind of incredibly small-minded, bigoted, kind of lesbian left-wing women running the show. It's like, and anytime the lesbian ladies want to get rid of you, they'll find a way. So yeah, not good, not good. So I don't rate the Australian university thing. I think I can't speak to the American one. It looks pretty good to me, though. There's probably a lot of things they could reform there, but I think Obama did a lot there in terms of debt. Or he tried, like, you got these people like Bernie Sanders. They'll try to make it free, or they'll try to make it cheaper. And I'm not going to get into that can of worms now, because I'm not one to talk about American university funding in terms of, like, individuals, what they pay. But yeah, but I just know here it had been very subsidized by the communist China, but now they realize they can't make money in that model anymore. They even try to organize charter airplanes just to bring that virus over here with the Chinese, get those kids back here on charter flights, because they're desperate. They got addicted to the money, and law enforcement didn't do the job here. Didn't control it. No one tried to control it. It's just like the Dean, yeah, Dean. They love the word Dean in Australia. So, like, winning, hey Dean, yeah. Like, they can't count properly. It's like 14 isn't 14. It's 14. It's just like, there's a lot of retards here. So, and it's criminality. It's like, oh, well, this is like the first fleet. You get sent out here for stealing a handkerchief. It's like people have their own sense of justice here. It's like, so yeah, I don't like any of it. I don't like it. So I don't like all those Chinese kids running around here. They don't speak English. They don't learn anything. They're paying all that money just because they're loaded. And then they brag about how they want to save the world in China and don't interfere with their things. They're just depriving their own people. Most of the people in China are poor, and they've been deprived by the government of opportunities. So let them have their own university in China. I love this virus. Love it. Love it. Seriously. So yeah, I don't have anything else to say. I don't value Australia's education system. I cannot understand why the parents want to pay 22,000 American dollars for the high school and then just feed them off into the shitty public education system we have here. Apparently, the Catholic University is rated the best one here in Sydney, the Australian Catholic University. My son went there for an excursion when he was at the Catholic school a couple of years ago, and I'll ask him now. Apparently, it's the best one here. I was so kind of terrified of Catholicism, just the way I was raised. It was like, oh yeah, terrified. Save me, save me. I mean, I wasn't that terrified. I wouldn't go live in Spain, which is like everyone's Catholic. But yeah, I mean, I don't really know. It would have been a good option for me. Actually, it's probably the best university I could go to. It's considered the best one here anyway, is a Catholic university. So maybe I would go there if I was really serious about getting a degree, not just, questioning everything. Like who wants a student to question things, right? Hey, Alex. So remember that time you went that school excursion when you were at the Catholic school? They took you to the Catholic University in North Sydney. So what did you see there, bro?
At the start, the people there told us what they were. Some were doctors.
You can come on camera if you want.
Police, some were nurses.
Yeah, they're doctors and police and nurses, yeah. And what were they, lecturers at the university?
No, and then we were doing a book called Hickory Dickory Dock.
Yeah.
And we were doing drawings, and we had.
But what you're saying, they had doctors and police at the universities, but they weren't. But were they working there? They would have been working there.
They weren't working there, but they were learning.
Ah, they were students.
Yeah, they were students.
Pupils, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that university, that's right. I'm just talking about it on my blog, see, I'm 25 minutes into it. Mm-hmm. That university is now rated Australia's #1 university, or it has been for even before you got there, like as the very best university in Australia.
I wanted to go to ACU.
Yeah, I now that I see that they're rated the best university in Australia, I'd be more than happy for you to go to university there.
I really want to go there.
Yeah.
It was my first time, and we had lunch in boxes there.
Boxes?
Cool. Yeah. Sometimes.
Oh, they put a box lunch for you?
Yeah.
Yeah, what was in just sandwiches in the box?
Yeah, some sandwiches and chips and a drink. I forgot, like water.
Yeah, like a popper?
Yeah, like a water or something.
Yeah, a little bottle of water.
Yeah.
Yeah, isn't that the photo on the fridge? Isn't that day? Isn't that from that day?
No, that's from the zoo. That's from our excursion at the zoo.
Was that Taronga Zoo?
No, that was actually forgot where it was. But we were doing a book called Alexander the Duckling, and I was the duckling.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they gave me a duckling hat.
Really?
And when you pulled the string, he would open his beak.
They gave it to you because your name's Alexander.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that university is very well rated, bro. I think that's a good future for you when you graduate high school. Go to ACU. Mm-hmm. Get a degree in something real. That's what I'm trying to say on my blog here. Like, there's no point studying humanities. They just doubled the price. Our government just doubled the price of humanities degrees. There's no point studying like a Bachelor of Arts or even journalism. Like, I'm sure you could become a journalist without getting a degree in journalism. I studied so much journalism at university, and I didn't learn anything.
Alistair's dad works in Western Sydney University. Alistair's dad.
Yeah. Does he? What does he do there?
I'm not sure. He just teaches the students there.
What does he teach them?
How to be their child if they want, I think. I'm not really sure. I haven't asked.
Is he still with the mom? They're still together, aren't they?
Yeah, they're still together. They're not
divorced. Have you met Alice's dad?
Alistair. Yeah, I have. I saw him at after school care when he was going to pick up Alistair.
Oh, yeah. Is he a nice guy?
Yeah. But he's older than you. He was like 56.
Oh, he's an oldie. That must be hard on Alice to have such an old dad, right? Yeah. Maybe that's why he acts funny, because his dad's so old. Because if your dad's super old, you have like kind of old people genes or something. The genes that they pass on to the child when they reproduce. If the parent is too old, those genes they get damaged. Like when we had you, I was a taxi driver for like 50 hours a week, and like 48 hours a week. I'd work 12-hour shifts a week, and then it was challenging. It's very challenging because you got to stay awake for 12 hours straight and drive at the same time, for 12 hours nonstop. You got to do it 4 days a week. You got to do it every week, every month.
Once a boy said 12 hours was until 1 o'clock.
Yeah, whatever. So, I'm just saying I was hella tired. When we had you and Scarlett, I was tired. I was just worked to the bone. I was smoking a lot too. So that's bad for your genes. If you put the laptop computer with the wireless on your lap when you're grown up, it affects your genes when you reproduce. It affects all that, so it can damage your ability to reproduce as well. Just because the vibrations come out of the computer when it sits on your lap, it damages your reproductive genes. So yeah, this is the world we live in today. We have all these things, like they're just, you know, it's a complicated world. It's a complicated world, very complicated. Yeah, I don't recommend having a kid when you're like 60. I don't think it's healthy. There was one Iranian guy, I was going to church with him for a while in Western Sydney near my mum's house, and he was just living across the road from my mum's house, like 200 yards away, and I'd see him sometimes at the park, and his kid was like my kid's age, and the guy, he was like 60 something. I mean, it was just ridiculous. Like, what are you doing, bro? Well, we have friends out there too, and the dad, I think he's in his 50s now or something. Like, I think this is like the limit. I mean, definitely just have a natural conception if you're an old guy over 40. Definitely only go for natural conception, because you're going to end up making your kid autistic. So if you're too old like that. So I mean, it's different if you freeze an egg when you're like, 35. Say you're a lady and you're 35 and you freeze your eggs, and then you decide to have a kid when you're 48 and you pay some lady from India to have it for you. I mean, it's still going to have 35-year-old DNA, so it's going to be healthy in that respect. And yeah, then it just becomes an ethical question. But in terms of healthy seed, frozen 35-year-old seed, that's good to go. Anyone can carry that to term. You can just, they'll probably maybe have a machine that does it one day. You can bring a chick to fruition in a see-through plastic bag. It is that they do that on the internet. So, yeah. Anyway, whatever. That's all I want to talk about Australian education. So I hope I covered everything there. Have a great day, everyone.